Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the seismic, high-stakes shifts happening right now in the late 2026 Android landscape. Look, if you've been following the industry at all, you know we're at a really unique inflection point. The traditional power dynamics are completely shifting, hardware leaks are literally flooding our feeds, and the underlying software is fundamentally transforming how we interact with our devices. We've got a ton of ground to cover today to piece together exactly who is winning the battle for your pocket.
Let's start things off with a rather somber hook, captured perfectly by this quote from 9 to 5 Google's Ben Schoon. It marks the definitive and honestly shocking end of a beloved challenger brand in the US market. You know, you have to remember that OnePlus built its entire identity in the early days as the ultimate flagship killer. They were the ones offering top-tier $800 specs for just $300, forcing the major titans to innovate faster and keep their prices somewhat in check. But now, as Android Police notes, that intense market pressure, it's completely gone. It's a massive shift in the ecosystem, leaving a huge void that the remaining giants are more than eager to fill.
So here is how we're going to break this all down today. First, the fall of OnePlus. Then, Samsung's foldable summer offensive. Third, Google's Pixel 11 counterattack. And finally, we'll wrap up with the AI software battlefield.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the fall of OnePlus.
So what's actually being lost in this market exit? Well, as reported by Android Authority, it's not just a brand name quietly fading away from store shelves. For longtime US users, this transition means the beloved Oxygen OS is being officially replaced by ColorOS. And guys, this is a massive deal for the enthusiast crowd. Oxygen OS was renowned for its clean, lightning-fast, stock Android feel, whereas ColorOS is traditionally a much heavier interface with a very different, almost iOS-like aesthetic. It's a fundamental shift in software philosophy. Plus, we're seeing the complete shutdown of the US OnePlus community forums. Back in the day, those forums were the absolute lifeblood of the brand. That's where developers actively crowdsourced bug fixes and feature requests directly from the users. Closing those digital doors represents a definitive end to the OnePlus we knew, as they pack up and shift their focus completely away from the US consumer market.
Moving right along to Section 2, Samsung's foldable summer offensive.
With OnePlus retreating, Samsung is perfectly positioned to scoop up those wandering Android users. And thanks to a massive influx of late summer leaks, we already know exactly what Samsung's immediate hardware offensive looks like. The element of surprise, yeah, it's essentially gone, but the strategic rollout they have planned is incredibly aggressive.
Just looking at this breakdown of the Galaxy Unpacked leaks, it's obvious Samsung is moving to totally dominate the high end. We've seen detailed marketing images of a slightly redesigned short and stout Galaxy Z Fold 8. But the real kicker here is they're introducing a brand new premium tier, the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra. What does this matter? Well, by adding an Ultra tier, Samsung is pushing that price ceiling even higher. They're aiming to compete directly with PC-level productivity, offering a truly uncompromised tablet experience right in your pocket. On top of the Fold and the newly refined Z Flip 8, they're even leveraging global pop sensation BTS in their marketing campaigns to really drive mainstream hype. And to sweeten the pot for early adopters, insiders are pointing to potential free storage upgrades. The reports do suggest there are some caveats there, meaning those upgrades might be locked behind specific carrier contracts or really tight pre-order windows. Either way, they are absolutely flooding the market with premium hardware.
But Samsung's offensive actually extends beyond the phone. Leaked images confirm that the upcoming Galaxy Watch 9 is getting a serious boost under the hood. As expected, Samsung is switching over to a brand new Qualcomm chip, the Snapdragon Wear Elite. For everyday users like us, this silicon upgrade translates directly into major quality of life improvements. We're talking about the potential for true multi-day battery life, so you're not constantly charging your watch every single night, and a user interface that stays perfectly fluid whether you're swiping to check a notification or tracking a run. It just proves Samsung wants absolute hardware dominance on your wrist just as much as they want it in your pocket.
That brings us to Section 3, Google's Pixel 11 counterattack.
It is fascinating to see the stark contrast in strategy here. While Samsung is out there flooding the zone with immediate, flashy, foldable hardware and new smartwatches, Google's strategy is entirely different. Google is just trickling out these calculated, refined teasers for the distant Pixel 11. We're seeing leaks on the Google Store prepping for features like Pixel Glow. Now, speculation suggests Pixel Glow could be this entirely new ambient lighting and software integration system that allows the phone's AI to subtly communicate with you through the edges of the display. It's meant to make the device feel more alive and contextually aware. Alongside rumors pointing to highly improved face unlock features, it's clear Google isn't shouting for attention right now. They're playing a very meticulous, long game to build genuine anticipation for the auto.
And that long game heavily relies on their custom silicon to power this next generation. Leaks from the Google Phone app and a few other sources point directly to the upcoming Tensor G6 chip. But what's really fascinating is that the same processor architecture isn't just reserved for the $1,000 flagship Pixel 11, it's already being leaked for the budget-friendly Pixel 11a, and it's potentially laying the groundwork all the way to the Pixel 12a. This is a crucial move. It means they're unifying their entire ecosystem under one powerful silicon roof. So if you buy the cheaper A-series phone, you're still going to get the exact same high-end, on-device AI processing power for complex photo editing, real-time voice translation, and predictive text as the premium model.
And honestly, the timing of this Pixel 11 momentum is perfect. The venerable Pixel 6 and 6 Pro have officially reached their end of life. Remember, the Pixel 6 was Google's first major hardware reboot and their first real foray into the Tensor chip back in 2021. As Android Police pointed out, these deeply popular devices were pretty much living on borrowed time over the last few months. But now that they're officially retired from updates, the stage is completely cleared for the Pixel 11 era to begin. Think about it. Millions of users who held onto those phones for 5 years are now suddenly in the market for an upgrade, which aligns perfectly with Google's launch cycle.
Finally, we arrive at Section 4, the AI software battlefield. Now, while Google is undeniably the software king, it hasn't exactly been a flawless summer for them. Gemini 3.5 Pro has faced notable delays, reportedly due to some coding performance issues that caused them to miss their initial June deadline. But hey, they aren't standing still. An upgraded Gemini Flash model is currently in testing, and Google is aggressively pushing personalization. We're seeing upcoming voice customizations that will actually allow you to adjust Gemini's tone by speed and energy, making those interactions feel so much more natural. But perhaps the most unprecedented shift of all is the deep integration of Gemini directly into Samsung's best native apps. Historically, Google kept its best AI features exclusive to the Pixel line to drive sales, right? But now, they're effectively making your Galaxy phone smarter overnight by embedding Gemini into Samsung's core experience. The lines between Google software and competing hardware are blurring into one unified Android AI front.
Furthermore, Google is quietly adding even more connected apps into its ecosystem. They're updating AI mode to support more first- and third-party apps like YouTube Music, mirroring the functionality of the main Gemini app. To put this into perspective, imagine you're driving. Instead of fumbling through menus, you can simply ask your on-device AI to seamlessly pull a specific indie playlist from YouTube Music and route you to a nearby coffee shop without ever physically touching the screen. That level of interconnected, frictionless use really proves that the underlying software is becoming the true differentiator here. It's not just about what the phone looks like anymore, it's about how much of your digital life the AI can seamlessly manage in the background.
So we've covered a ton of ground today. As we look at the ruins of OnePlus in the US market, and we watch titans like Samsung and Google battling it out with Fold 8s and Pixel 11s, you really have to ask yourself a critical question. In this late 2026 smartphone era, is it going to be the flashy, dual-folding hardware that ultimately wins your loyalty? Or will it be the invisible, omnipresent AI software? Think about what actually drives your daily usage. I'll leave you to ponder that one. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.